Hello, and welcome to the first in our series of free mini seminars. Now, first of all, I am going to apologise because I am the executive producer, the presenter, and all of the effects guys, and all them sorts of things. So I apologise if I muck anything up in the meanwhile, but hopefully I will get the message across effectively enough. So, here we go, motivation seminar. So, what am I going to talk about today? Well, firstly, who am I? I am, let us just go to there. Right, so I am Melanie Riding, and I am the owner of Riding to Health Limited. I have run this for coming up for 5 years or so now. And prior to that, I was a teacher. Now, whilst I was a teacher, I was also, whilst living in Britain, I raced for Great Britain in triathlon. That picture you can see on the left-hand side there. And I had to lose about 32 kilos in order to do that. So I made it onto British TV with my weight loss story. I raced for Great Britain at world and European level for 5 years, and then a knee injury struck me, and eventually that knee injury caused me to need a knee replacement. That's the other picture you can see there. The knee replacement was just 18 months ago, and I am now trying to recover from that and regain the fitness that I lost for the 10 whole years or so that I sat around with the injury whilst working my way through the public system. So that is a little bit about me. I have been obese. I've been a high-end athlete. I've been stressed. I'm a business owner. You name it, I've done it. So I probably do know how you feel in some way or another. So let's get into it. Now, what I need you to do is grab yourself something to make notes on. Now, that's a really old-fashioned picture I've got there, but you get the idea. You might want to make notes. You also might want to pause and rewind me. This will be available on playback for a wee while afterwards. Now, let us get to it. What exactly is mojo, and where's it gone? So, let's just start at the beginning. In the days when travelling vacuum cleaner salesmen roamed the land, there was a little girl who was offered to have the demonstration of a vacuum cleaner. This guy had turned up at the door, travelling salesman trying to sell her a vacuum cleaner. So, this vacuum cleaner is world class. It's the best that money can buy. It's got all the attachments and carpets and drapes and stairs and heating vents and hardwood floors, and you name it, it will clean it. This is the vacuum cleaner, it's the bee's knees. You might want to call it a Dyson. I don't know. So, wow, says the mom. That's really impressive. Anything it can't do? Yes, said the salesman. There is one thing it can't do, and that is make you want to use it. And the same with exercise. So, I cannot make people want to get fit. I can't make you want to go to the gym or visit me or whatever. I can't make you want to get fit, lose weight. I can't make you want to do any of those things. But what I can do is help you when you get there. So, the mojo type feelings, they're there on the screen for you. Depleted, overwhelmed, stressed out, frumpy, tired, bored, lethargic, blah, blah, blah. They're all things that individually we can cope with quite easily. However, in a collective, all becomes a little bit overwhelming. Add to that COVID-19, and it might just tip you over the edge. So, where's it gone, and how can we get it back again? Well, let's see. Reasons why you can. Now, first you've got to identify the excuses and all your generalizations and all your avoidance tactics. You probably know what they all are. But what are your actionable items? What can you actually do about, and which ones can you do something about? So if you're getting frustrated about someone else's actions, there's nothing you can do about that. If you're getting frustrated about not being allowed to go to your favorite restaurant, there is nothing you can do about that. What can you action? Which items in your list can you actually do something about? So if you're going to action pack, do all of these things, what you probably need to do is pause me now and write yourself a list of all of the mojo exiting items that are there on that list, right? Write down a list of all the things that you're feeling, all the negative things you're feeling. Now, I remember doing this, Budapest 2010 World Championships, and I was going for a massage, and she said, would you like to do some head stuff? I said, what's that? She said, oh, bring a pen and piece of paper and write down everything that could possibly get in the way of your perfect race. And I was like, whoa, that's easy. And I wrote a massive long list. So what I want you to do is write the list. Write a list of all the negatives, of all the problems and all the things that you're feeling right now that are a problem for you. Doesn't matter whether they're actionable items or not, just write that list. And after you've done that, then what I need you to do is look at the list and highlight the ones you can actually do something about. That's your first task. So once you have done that, we need a goal. So everybody knows how to, got a cat with a dingly bell. Everybody knows how to set goals and the SMART goals and all that jazzy stuff. But what is your goal? Is it realistic? Is your goal realistic? So you're a couch potato, you want to run a marathon in 6 weeks. That's not realistic. You need to make your goals realistic and achievable goals. So start off small and work your way up. And do you believe in it wholeheartedly? So I've had people come along and say to me, oh, my doctor's told me I've got to. What about you? How do you feel about this? So that person, my doctor's told me I've got to, hasn't got as much buy-in as the person that comes along because they've had some type of health diagnosis, are afraid for their future and want to make sure they're fit enough to look after their grandchildren. Those are two very different types of people, and they've got very different amounts of buy-in to that goal at the end. So your goal, you need to have buy-in with your goal. So now you've made your long list of what nots. I want you now to make a goal. What is that goal of yours? If you're doing this as we go along, you probably want to pause me now and then come back to me later. Or you might want to watch this as a whole and then come back and do it as an actionable item later. It's entirely up to you. So now we've got a goal. This is excellent. So what now? Well, your goal, do you trust that it's actually attainable? Can you actually do it? Is it likely? Is it easy? Is it possible? More often, the answer is probably yes. So have a think about this. You need to have a buy-in goal with that. Do you really feel worthy of having this in your life? Or are there any questions you have about it? Again, we're talking about 100% buy-in. Might there be a possible danger to succeeding and fulfilling that dream that you may not want to risk? So, for example, I have a lot of people that say they want to lose X amount of kilos. But what if you only lose 5 and you only lose 4? Well, I've failed. Oh, God. But if you say, I want to lose weight, feel trimmer, that is a better way of wording the goal. So have a think about that. Number 4, are there people in your life who might be upset, hurt, angry, or threatened if you were to fulfill this goal? You might think that's a strange thing to say, but there are some people out there that are like that. And are you willing to jeopardize their approval? You need to have a think about that. That's about household dynamics and that sort of thing. What would you need to do to get those people's buy-in if you think they're not going to approve? Now, have you really stepped into this process with both feet, or is one side of you still holding the door open just in case? So that's like, I'm going to lose weight. I'm going to get down to size 12. So I'm going to throw out all of my fat clothes. Or I might keep a few in case I grow back into them again. How much buy-in have you got here? I'm sure we've all been there. And can you practice being that person of your dreams in the meanwhile? So there's a very well-known saying in neurolinguistic programming, and that is fake it till you make it. So if you get up in the morning feeling totally crappy, but smile and be cheerful, deliberately cheerful, and you fake that for long enough, you'll bring yourself out of that misery and you'll make yourself feel better. That is what I mean there. Can you practice being this successful person of the future in order to help you get to the future? So, moving on. Now, here, what exactly are you trying to achieve? Now, I've got quite a few different images there I want you to consider. So that lady up there at the top, she's probably the media's idea of your perfect model body. Are you wanting to be that? Are you wanting to just be slimmer than you are now? Are you wanting to be happier? That's the one on the top right. Who is it that you want to be? You need to decide, because what you want to do and what you think is achievable might not necessarily always be the same. What do I mean? Well, have a look at this. Now, that's me in many different guises, and you'll probably notice one of those there. I've got a six-pack, but this is from a body confidence seminar that I did a few years ago now, talking about body image and the media and what the media does and whether it's right or wrong. Now, if you look at all of that, I wanted to lose weight. I managed it, that top one on the left. I wanted to be a runner. I managed it. Didn't enjoy it, but I managed it. I wanted to be a triathlete. I managed it, and I managed it at a very high level for a number of years. Was it sustainable? No. To have a figure like that is high maintenance, and you have to give up other parts of your life in order to keep that. So are you willing to make those sacrifices, or is there a different type of body image that you've got in mind? Have a think about that for a second, because that six-pack is not sustainable very easily. I'll tell you that because that's me and I did it. So, moving on. What is your goal? Why do you want the goal? What is the goal? Write it down again. Why do you want this goal? And tell me why. What is the reason? Is it a personal reason? Is it an external reason? Studies show that when we write something down and connect ourselves with it manually, we engage the brain better in the process. Now, I'll tell you that is true because I switched from paper diaries to electronic diaries, and I actually was much more productive with paper diaries, and it took me a little while to switch over to the electronic way of thinking because I didn't have an actual connection with the pen. Maybe that's just my age, and I don't know, but yes, there is scientific studies that connections with writing and the brain make you more likely to succeed. So, moving on. Chunking. Now, what I want you to do is break this grand goal down into tiny steps. I had a personal training client who had a massive big goal in mind, which was completely achievable, but because that goal was a long time in the future, staying focused on this week's personal training and next week's personal training at the beginning of the journey was really difficult because the goal was so far away. So what you need to do is make the steps smaller. So by the end of whatever time period, you're going to have achieved what? And make the steps to your goal a lot smaller so that you can tick them off like a list. And you can do them one at a time. What now? You need to start. You need to actually do it. You need to actually do this thing. You need to stop making excuses. You need to also give yourself time out. You need to stop the hamster wheel and the running around in circles and all of the mumbo jumbo and all the procrastination. That's the word I'm looking for, procrastination. You need to be connected to this goal and focused on the goal. It might even be worth taking an electronic sabbatical. Now, what I mean by that is switch yourself off from the media, especially now when we've got this whole COVID-19 thing going on. It can get all a bit overwhelming. So it is sometimes worth disconnecting yourself from the media for a while. That will also address the stress issue and might help you actually take time out to relax. You know, I love New Zealand for the fact that I could, when I was allowed to leave the house, I could drive 10 k's down the road and I'd lose my cell signal. Excellent. So if I didn't want to be reached, I'd just go to one of those areas. Oh, I'm sorry, my phone didn't ring. You need to manually disconnect yourself. Because we're attached to social media, because it's the only type of interaction we can have, it can get a bit too much. And you need to be willing to ask for help, because you need people around you, all those people in your bubble and all the others, to be able to achieve this goal. Now, this diary is the paper diary that I used to use when I was writing diaries. I'm just going to solo that screen so you can look at it more closely. Now, I thought this was an excellent diary because down at the bottom you had to have a list and you had to put in it each week a positive and a goal. And it made you reflect. And I used to flick back through that diary. And then, just let me switch back to these screens. I used to flick back through that diary and look back at all of those positives that I used to that I'd forgotten about. So it's worth doing something like that if you've got a way of doing it. Now, you may have seen it, you may not. It used to be underneath this logo, but it isn't actually anymore. Focus, adapt, achieve. That was always our motto. It's not so much on the logos now because of the small font, but focus, adapt, bloody cat with bell. Focus, adapt, achieve was the motto. And why do you think that is? I love that quote there from Thomas Edison. It's just great. So, our greatest weakness lies in giving up. The most certain way to succeed is always to try one more time. So, coming next, you need to get help. There is an inherent value in sharing your plan. So, for example, I would put things out on social media because once I've told people, oh God, I've got to do it now. That's what I mean. Announce your intentions, sends a strong message to the world and gives you a bit of tie-in so that you've got a bundle of people that can help you jog you along on this goal, as well as having some accountability. Predetermine how you're going to deal with the negatives. So there's going to be a list of probable things that are going to happen along the way. So that if it was a spider diagram, it might be the what ifs. If this happens, I'll do that. Have a plan. Because with a plan, then it makes sure that you're going to succeed and you'll always have a way of getting out of those holes. That is definitely worth doing as a spider diagram what ifs. It's saved a lot of people from negative fall off the bandwagons when I get my pen and paper out and do that. It's very archaic, pen and paper, but it works really, really well. I just want you to have a look at this quote here for a second. Have a look at that. That's a quote from Steve Jobs. He's the Microsoft man. Now, becoming internally driven, that's a whole new topic. Just letting you read it. Okay, coming back. Right, so moving on to things that we already do for free that you maybe didn't know about. We've been putting out free content for years. We had a Y series on, and it's still on YouTube and it's still on our website, and we ran it for a year. So that's 50 odd episodes of Y, and it was all the regular questions that I used to get asked from people Why's my foot hurt, and why are the scales reading the same thing, and all sorts of things. Now when it eventually came to the point where somebody would ask me a question and go, well, I've got a video for that. So it's worth looking through that, because that's a completely free resource, and the most recent 9 are on a website, and then you can hop on to YouTube to watch the rest of them. We've also got a podcast. Now, this podcast on the picture is, I've sort of archived that podcast, but it is still there, and there's a whole heap of episodes if you like to listen rather than watch stuff. That's still there online. In addition to that, I've just recently launched, this is talking about buying. I'm not doing this for you, I'm doing this one for me because I want to. This one's called Fitness Talk Podcast, and I am committing myself to recording one a week, and it's on all things fitness and mental strength and all that sort of thing. We've done 2. I've just launched it, so have a look at that. The Fitness Talk Podcast is what it's called. You can find it on Podbean, you can find it on iTunes. The Fitness Talk Podcast, it's free as well. And I also got a bit better at making podcasts. And then, what else do we do? So, we have got a whole bundle of places that you can get stuff. If you're a member, you also get free 30 to 60 minute classes, which stay in an archive. So you've got hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of classes. You might say, oh yeah, but everybody's doing that these days. We've been doing this for years. We did this long before COVID ever came along. So we've got more archived classes that you can go back and watch. You'll have so many classes you won't know where to start. That's what our members have. And the reasonably recently relaunched community group, we're also going to be putting some free content into it as well. So if you don't want to pay, you can join that one as well. It really doesn't make any difference to me on this presentation. I'm just telling you what is out there and what you can get. There is a fee for the classes. There's not a fee for the other group. So I just want to say a final thank you. And remember that you are as awesome as you believe that you are. You need to remember that. It is a positive mindset thing. You need to set yourself a goal. I used to pin them on the fridge. And I mean that, pin them on the fridge. So what you might want to do is set yourself a goal and write it down somewhere. Somewhere that you're going to look all the time. One of my clients once put it as a screensaver. So every time she opened her phone, she saw it, which I thought was a grand idea for putting a goal in a place you're going to remember it all the time. So thank you for watching. And if there's any particular topic you'd like to hear me talk about, do let me know, because I'm open to suggestions. And I will be back soon. Have a lovely day, week, weekend, whatever time of the day and week you're at, or wherever about you are in the world. Have a good one anyway. And cheerio.